Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming tonight. I'm Teresa Toro, National Marketing Director with Juice Plus, and I have the pleasure to have tonight two incredible young ladies, Katherine and Cade. She's an NMD and also 24 Club, and I'm very excited for her. And Natalia Orovitz, she's a sales coordinator, qualifier, who's going to interview tonight to Katherine Lee. Welcome, Katherine and Natalia, and thank you very much to be with us tonight. I'm excited to hear your story, and Natalia is going to interview. You listen me, Natalia?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay.
So I will start asking questions now?
Yeah, well, yes, I would like to hear first the Katherine Cade. Well, you can start. You can start, Natalia.
My first question is, what is your story?
Yeah.
Find out about you. And then there.
Wait, say that last part again. My story and what?
And your story, and how do you got notice about Use Plus, and who introduced you to this, and yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured that would be your first question. Well, I've actually been taking Juice Plus for 15 years now. So I grew up in a Juice Plus family. My mom is a nurse practitioner by background, and she was introduced to the product 15 years ago. So I was just 13 years old, a child living at home, when she brought Juice Plus into our family's life. And taking it, and then I actually fed it to our dogs instead. I was a rebellious teenager. I didn't understand the value of it for myself. But once I had started taking it, I was able to come off of oral antibiotics for acne, my immune system. I went from sick all of the time to the last one to get sick. So my immune system grew in strength a ton. And then my cravings changed from sugar, fat, and salt to fruits and vegetables. And so I always knew that I would love and take Juice Plus. But I honestly didn't see myself participating in the business side of things at all, just because I viewed it as something that middle-aged women did. Sorry if that offends any of the women who are closer to middle age on the line, but I just figured that this was not something that people my age were involved in, and I could not have been more wrong, and I'm grateful to be involved now, but it was definitely not immediately it made sense to me. That's not how it happened for me. So I saw my mom build a 6-figure income staying at home, and I definitely admired that about her, but I didn't think that I had what it took to do that. And really the only reason that I thought that was because I was comparing my worst qualities to her best qualities, which, regardless of your sponsor being your family member or a complete stranger, we as women tend to pick ourselves apart and compare our worst to others' best, which is so unfair. And so I was sitting there comparing myself to her, thinking I could never do what she's done. My personality is different. My network is different. My friends aren't in this stage of life where they have a lot of disposable income to spend money on themselves anyways. I had excuse. And I heard someone say that you can either make excuses or money, and you can't do both. And I decided that I really wanted to try. And so I was teaching 8th grade math at the time. So teenagers were my students. And I just realized I wasn't going to have the time to invest in raising a family of my own while teaching students too. And so while I was teaching, I started doing Juice Plus on the side. I fast-tracked to sales coordinator, and then I stayed there for 3 or 4 years maybe. I didn't do much with it at all. I once I'd gotten some sort of success, started comparing myself to the people who were at the next level and thinking I could never do that. Excuse. And it wasn't until I realized that my income was completely capped teaching that I realized I deserved more for myself and I wanted more for myself. And so I took a risk. I left my teaching job, and within 5 months had gone from $500 a month to replacing my teaching salary, which was several $1,000s a month. And so that was amazingly empowering. I went to Q school and thought I'd be a national marketing director a few months later. And then y'all that were at conference heard me say, I lost 2 of my sales coordinator legs once I hit QNMD. And that was majorly discouraging, as it would be for anyone. And so I had to once again decide whether or not I was really all in, like I said, or if I was going to create excuses for myself. And I decided I did want to go it. And you know, within a few years, I did reach national marketing director in 24 Club a month later. So that's my journey with Juice Plus. And here I am, 15 years
Oh my
on the
God.
product and 3 years working the business from when I made that decision to go all in, but longer that I've been around the company.
That's amazing. Like, whoa, I didn't expect that. And during that process, like what kept you going? Like, like what you said, like your 2 legs of sales coordinator fall apart. What was like your motor inside of you that kept you going?
Yeah. So 2 things. One, I want to say the major thing that I learned from having those legs crumble was not to do other people's work for them. I had built those legs up by doing basically everything for those people, and I will never do that again. I think that rule number 1 in this business is you match people's energy and their work effort, not their words. People often say one thing and do another, and it's really easy to get caught up in wanting someone to be successful so badly that you want it more than they want it for themselves. And so that's something where if you can learn that early on to match people's work effort, not their words, it's going to pay dividends in the future. But really the only thing that kept me going when I was so discouraged was I didn't get disconnected. I stayed plugged in. So I kept utilizing Voxer. I kept showing up to events. I kept going to national conferences. I kept going to boot camps and regionals and training calls like this. I never quit my DMO. And I'm a teacher by background. And so I think that that's the thing that I did well. It's not exceptional, but I just didn't quit. I made a plan and I stuck to it. I hosted monthly Juice Plus events at my house, even when I felt like I didn't have anyone left to invite. And I continued sharing my story with the product and with the business, even when I didn't feel particularly energized. But I kept letting myself be poured into from other trainers and calls and resources so that I could pour out on others. And that's really the other thing is I stayed so connected with my sponsor. She happens to be my mom, but I think now as a national marketing director and wherever you are in the business, the thing about it is knowing your representatives are going to face discouragement. Like they just will. That's part of this. And for you to not allow them to become isolated is so crucial. You have to pull them back into community constantly so that they won't be on their own, because when people feel discouraged and then they isolate themselves, that's when they completely let go of their businesses. And my mom did an awesome job of like celebrating the small things along the way, every new customer and even things that aren't a big deal. She made me feel like a rock star, and so it kept me motivated too.
Okay. And not that you and me are young people, like millennial people. How is your approach with millennial people, and how you keep them motivated? Because you know we are more liberal, and maybe we don't take this job as serious as other jobs because we have so much freedom inside this business that sometimes like it's easier for them to let go. Yeah, basically how you work with that.
Yeah, for sure. So I was 24 when I started doing this seriously, and I was 27 when I hit national marketing director. I just turned 28 last month. So I definitely consider myself a millennial, but I also think it's important to recognize that everybody needs Juice Plus and everybody needs the business. So not to make your team all millennials, because that was my team originally, was all people my own age. And that's that's not good. I mean, really, just like you want the older people want younger people on their teams, younger people should want older people on their teams too, because we all add value to one another's lives in different ways. And I heard someone, I can't remember who it was, maybe it was another national marketing director who's kind of on the younger side. And she said, make a list of 10 to 15 women who are above 35 years old that you respect and admire. And I want you to get to know them purposefully because they have things they can teach you and they have value they could bring to your team. And I would say the average age on our team is still 20 something for sure. But that was something that was helpful. And then as far as how I approach people my own age, I mean, student debt is huge. If they've been to university, that's a need that people have. Saving for their future. Like my husband and I were able to buy our first home and take vacations that most people our age wouldn't be able to afford to do. And so I think that we do have something to offer them, but also not approaching it as this is only for millennials, because it's not, and keeping your eyes peeled for everyone who could be on your team. And then the main thing with millennials about keeping them engaged is keeping it simple. I remember when my mom first tried to start training me to do the business, and it was like a training call that lasted an hour, and I was like mentally checked out like a long time ago. And you've got to have your systems down so quick, so clean that people's attention spans are with you. You know, if you can't tell someone how to start their business well in 5 minutes, then you need to simplify your processes, period. You know, because how do you start someone well? You have an event, you have a Facebook party, you have a friends and family call or a Zoom event, whatever, and you make a memory jogger, and that's it. Like, you don't have to make this so complicated.
Okay. And that I've been working, I've been 5 months business. It's very hard for people because maybe I don't look believable because and thing
We're
that's
losing
going
you.
on in my group that we are. Sorry,
We're losing you.
You're cutting in and out.
Yeah.
okay. Do you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I was saying that I've been in this business like for 5 months, and one of my biggest I don't know how to say it things to do, like one of my biggest hard things to do is because like I don't look believable because I'm young, you know what I'm saying? And that's a problem that we're having here in Puerto Rico right now with people who are my age trying to tell our stories to older people. They look at us like sometimes like, okay, this little kid is talking to me, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? So what are like tools you can give us to approach older people?
So I think that the main thing is that when we're afraid to share our story or to speak up, it's often because we're insecure about ourselves in general. And I think it gets back to the main thing, you know, there's 3 things you have to have belief in to do this as well. Belief in yourself, belief in the product, and belief in the company. And some people add like belief in the industry of network marketing, and I agree in all of those things wholeheartedly. But I think the first is belief in yourself. And what I would tell you is there's really no difference if you're talking to a 55-year-old physician or a 22-year-old college student. Like, you need to come across professionally, you need to come across confident, but you don't need to come across so self-important. Like, I am young, but who cares? I know what I know, and I'm not going to apologize for it. And I think that the more you practice your story with conviction, saying it out loud. I remember being so nervous to invite people who like 35, which is still really young, to come to my house for my parties. Because I was like, oh, my house is so much smaller than theirs probably. My furniture isn't as nice, or just stupid things. And y'all, they didn't care. They didn't even notice probably. What they remembered was how I made them feel, which was valuable as a person and heard, because I asked them a ton of questions about their family and, their health and whatever. My biggest leg is actually younger than me. But my second biggest leg is about 8 years older than I am, and she's like my big sister now. She's only in her mid-30s. She's not old by any stretch of the imagination, but I remember being intimidated by her at first. And it's so funny because now it's like she tells me all the time, when I grow up, I want to be like you, Katherine. And it's such a compliment. But if I hadn't taken that risk of just putting myself out there and inviting her to events again and again, and she told me no 10 times, by the way, first, before she came to one. And then she was a customer first and then became a distributor. And so I think it's just a matter of becoming more confident in what you're saying and worrying less about who it is you're saying it to, because before they're a 55-year-old physician, they're a human, you know? And so we all have that in common too.
Okay, thank you. And the other question I have for you is, while running this business, what are like your most amazing tools that you say this is definitely what you have to do to get to NMD?
Yeah. So a few things. One is I have a whiteboard. Can y'all see that in the background? I'm not like a big office paperwork person. I don't believe in that. Like, I'm kind of disorganized chaos everywhere. But a few things that I did consistently all the way to NMD. One is I make a fresh memory jogger every single month, period. Like, I still do it. It doesn't matter. And on that memory jogger, I code people and I keep them all in journals. I'm a paper person. I'm not a computer person. And I like to be able to flip back and look at them, but I write beside them, like how I'm going to contact them and what I'm inviting them to, whether it's an in-person event or a Facebook party or a Zoom call, or I'm just scheduling to meet them for coffee, and I make notes. And I don't always get to everyone on my memory jogger, to be perfectly honest with you guys. Some months my memory jogger is 75 people long, and other months it's 10. You know, it just kind of depends on what's happening in my life at the time, but I do that every single month. And I circle the ones that I want to approach about the business, which y'all know should really be everyone, because if they deserve to know about our products, they deserve to know about our opportunities. But sometimes people's names jump off at you more for the business, so I circle them too. And that's something I've done since the day I started this, and I do it every single month. The second thing is I host a monthly in-person party every single month at my house. The people who are on the team in the area, we actually like rotate homes now so that more people are involved in hosting the events themselves. And I make them different every single month so that people could come to every party every month and still have value added to their lives. So I'm not just like showing Bridging the Gap every month. Like, for instance, last month in November, we had a local artist come and show us how to make Christmas decorations for our mantle places. And we just talked about health and the home, and how when you're in a home that's beautiful, it affects you positively mentally. And then we just shared Juice Plus stories. Like, the two things don't really have to go together. It's more just what your friends would be interested in coming for a glass of wine to learn about. We've had a psychologist come and speak about mental wellness. We've had a professional chef come and do a cooking demonstration. So we just do things like that. And that's with my team that lives in my area, which is probably 3 of my 5, like my 5 biggest legs that live here locally. So that's another thing that I did every single month, was host an event. Even when I didn't feel like it, and even when I did not feel like I had anyone to invite, I did it anyways, period. I never made that excuse for myself. The other tool that I use is Voxer. I check it every single day. As a sponsor, I check in on my people at least every other day if I have not heard from them. Every single Monday morning, you'll hear me Voxering like a crazy person. I sit down and I reach out to every single person on my team who has a goal, and I just ask them how I can help them that week, who they're meeting with, who they're talking to, if they have any questions I can answer, and so forth. And then the other thing that I do every single week is I listen to some form of inspiration. And I more do that almost every single day, whether it's a podcast or the Campbell team. I'm sure y'all know about that website, the Campbell team website. They have so many amazing recorded calls. I try to be always inspired so I can inspire, because when you're empty, you don't have much to give. And then the last thing that I would say is, I don't know if you all do affirmations or Bible verses or anything like that. But I think that when your mind is right, it affects everything else. And so I'm a really big believer in self-care. And whether it's speaking affirmations over yourself or reading scripture or praying or whatever, I think that's something that everyone needs to include in their daily routine with Juice Plus, because when you feel positive, that energy is contagious. And when you are operating out of negativity, people don't want to be around you or join your team or take your products or do anything with you. And so those are the tools primarily that I use. As far as technology and stuff like that, when people join the team, they're brand new, we do offer to do a Zoom event and a Facebook party and things like that. But I have not built my business on social media. I've built it person-to-person relationships. I think that that's my strength, one of them. I'm not super present on social media, honestly, which may not be that normal for someone my age. I think a lot of people that are trending away from social media that are our age, you can agree with me or disagree with me, but I think there's so much you're overwhelmed kind of sort of. And so as much as you can take it offline and meet for coffee or a walk or even just a one-on-one phone conversation, I think that goes a long way, because there is so much out there now of buy my product, I want to share this with you all over Facebook and Instagram, that you don't want your message to be diluted, So those are the tools that I use primarily. Did that answer your question? That was kind of long.
And my last question is, now that you're an MD, congratulations.
Thank
What is your next goal in this business?
Yeah, gosh, that's a really good question. Obviously right now I'm working on 39 Club, because that's the next tangible promotion or whatever. But I won't stop until I have at least 200 or 300 qualifiers in my downline. Come on, I'm young. The sky's the limit. And I always tell, that is one thing though about people our age, is I always say, if my mom had started this when she were my age, our family's life would look completely different than it does today. Her income bailed us out of financial trouble. It enabled us to stay in the school we were in and go to college and pay for all of the stuff. But being young, if you stay consistent, stay in line, don't get out of that line, and just chip away at it, even if you're not spending 7 hours a day doing this, it doesn't take miracles, it takes consistency. That's it. The people who are at the top, they're not so spectacular, they just didn't quit. And so I think the biggest thing that you can tell people is this is not a get rich quick thing, but it is time on our side, because we're young and the company needs us. They need people to and take over. And if you stick with it, there's no reason you can't be 500 Club NMD, there's just no reason, I guess. As many qualifiers as humanly possible.
That's cool. Well, I have no more questions, Tere. I think that's...
Oh my gosh, thank
do
you
you have
very
one?
much, Katherine. And I would like to open all the lines to see if someone wants to ask more questions. Okay, unmute. No, unmute. Okay. Okay.
That's my laughing.
Yes. Anyone?
I'm sorry, I said that I was on mute, but I wasn't. So.
Yeah. Anyone has any question to Katherine? No, no more questions? Well, thank you very much, Katherine. I really appreciate your time, and I hope we can bless your team when you have people that speak Spanish. I have here Ana. Ana Rosa is from other team. From which team are you, Ana Rosa?
I'm with Pammy, Katherine. Pammy Chepley.
Yeah.
My
Oh, cool.
Yes,
So
so
cool.
we adopt her. We adopt her as our part of our team.
Yeah, because I'm from Puerto Rico, so.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Actually, am I still in time to do a question for Katherine?
Yes.
I have a few minutes. Yeah.
I just want to know in your DMO,
Mm-hmm.
like how does your day look like usually?
Mm-hmm.
I usually struggle with that structure because I don't have the structure in myself, and I heard you said something around not having a structure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm going to be real with you. My days look different every single day. I mean, when I was teaching, you know, I had to clock in at 6:45 a.m. and I clocked out at 4:30. So I knew exactly when I could and couldn't be doing Juice Plus. But now I'm self-employed. Like I left teaching. This is what I do. But I do teach fitness classes at a gym. And so some days I wake up at 4 a.m. and go teach classes at 5 and 6 a.m. And so my days don't look the same, but I do the same things every day. So more structuring, like when you do have time, you know how to spend it. You're not just shuffling papers. Like the first thing that I do every single day is I make sure my people have what they need. So like I go to check Voxer the first thing as soon as I have a second to work. And I'm not going to stop checking it until every chat is emptied out. I mean, unless it's like mindless things that people are talking about. But if they need help, I'm going to answer all of the questions. And usually some of the leaders in between myself and them will chime in also. It's not a one-man show. It's a team effort. And then the next thing that I'm going to be doing is obviously customer care. I didn't talk about that at all, but that's so important to touch your customers every single day, not just manage their shipments, but like actually love on them so that they stick with you, because our business is a customer business. And then the next thing is I'm going to be inviting to whatever events we're having, whether it's an in-person call, Facebook, whatever that it may be. And past that, I mean, Voxer customer care and inviting to events. I'm setting up coffee dates, one-on-one conversations for the business, really trying to establish relationships. And that's about it. It's a few simple things that you do again and again and again and again. And then, I mean, obviously at the higher levels, like I look at my reports for who's close to qualifying and things like that. You have to learn some skills along the way, but that's never where I spend the bulk of my time anyways. Those reports are helpful. They share a story, but I only look at them on the 1st, the 15th, and then around the 25th of the month, and then the 30th, right before it's qualifiers day. Qualifiers day shouldn't be stressful, even when you're an NMD. Your people should know long ahead of time if they're close to qualifying. It shouldn't be like the last minute of the last day that they just find out, you know?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the information.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It was a great call, Katherine. Thank you for that.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Katherine.
I loved it.
Good. Good. I hope it was helpful.
Yeah.
It was
Yes,
very
it
helpful.
was.
Very
Thank
helpful.
you a lot.
Yeah, I learned a lot. I took notes.
Good.
Yes, and you know what? I learned a lot. Keep it simple. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes we complicate this business too much, and the reality is very simple.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so thank you so much. Have a happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
And we have our next, I'm going to also announce our next events. Our next event is on January 11. We are going to celebrate 2018, the new coming year. And also on January 13, we are going to have cooking classes to start with our shred people, with our shredders. So save those dates to be sure you be there and also invite people. So bye-bye. Thank you for
Thank you,
coming.
Katherine.
Thank you.
Holidays.
Bye-bye.